So a couple of the things we want to showcase to you guys is kind of the John Everyman stuff that we use here on the channel. We try to keep everything as least expensive as possible without sacrificing any quality. What I have here today is some of the catfishing gear that we use on some of our adventures. The reel is a Abu Garcia 5500S. Some of you may be kind of familiar with the C series of the Abu Garcias, and they're really quality reels. They're loads better than some of the Chinese stuff that you can find on the internet. And this stuff, the 5500S, you could end up finding at Walmart, and that's where I ended up finding it. I paid about $55 for this reel, and also you can find these Catfish poles at Walmart as well. These are the Shakespeare Ugly Sticks, the Catfish series. I like them for a couple reasons. One, they're made of S-glass. They're nice and stout. They've got this nice pommel on it. They've got kind of an EVA plastic, or not plastic, but a foam grip on them. They've got your hook keeper right there, where you can keep your hook on there without having to attach it to an eye and try to bend it. But if you wanted to attach it to an eye, you could, because these are double reinforced. There's a leg going forward on the eye, and there's two legs going backwards on the eye. So it's actually quite hard to bend that sucker. The other thing I like about them, because I have a car and I don't have an SUV at the moment, is you can break them in half. Some people don't like this. They say that it makes the rod less strong. I tend to disagree. The only disadvantage this really has is if you're not really paying attention and you put it together, you start casting with it, and this will start walking forward, and then all of a sudden one cast you end up making that cast, and this end flies off and it kind of goes down towards your bait. You reel everything in, this front piece stops at your bait or your sinker, however you have it rigged. It stops, you reel the whole kit and caboodle in, and you reattach it. Surprisingly, this is pretty well made to where it holds really well. Once you line up those eyes and you cinch that sucker down, it's on there. It's really not going anywhere. So for the purposes of this video, and for demonstration purposes only, we're going to break the rod apart so I'm not waving it all around and I don't break a bunch of lights off. The seat for the reel isn't a metal reel seat like you see on a lot of other more expensive catfish rods. This rod costs about $29.99. It's 8 foot. It is medium heavy. It says 15 to 30 pound line and a ½ ounce lure. I can tell you right now, I put 60 pound braid on this thing, or 65 pound Power Pro braid on this thing, and I throw upwards of 8 ounces of lead on this rod, and it can take it no problem. It really wings it out there. I can get some pretty long casts with it. The reel seat, like I said, is not metal, like you see on a lot of other expensive rods, but it is metal. It's plastic, but it's metal reinforced. Looks like there's aluminum there holding it on. The other thing is on the back side of the reel seat, where it connects to the rod, you'll see that it is plastic there as well. I've fought some pretty big catfish on this rod, and I haven't really seen this reel budge, at least as far as forward or backwards, or seen any reason to believe that it's not a strong rod. The other thing, one of the things I found out with some of these Ambassador reels is that the foot on the reel that connects inside of the reel seat isn't really wide enough. So what happens is I can take this thing and I can cinch it down into the seat as far as I possibly can to the back, and then I can actually take the reel and I can move it side to side. You can fix that a couple ways. You could, stick some paper down in there, maybe get some cork. But to tell you the truth, it doesn't bug me that much. The only time I ever feel like it's a problem is if I'm reeling in a big fish. Sometimes I can feel the reel moving back and forth. So this season I might actually put a little something in there to kind of seat this thing down a little better. So the reel, as far as initial quality, see, I've dinged this thing up pretty good. There's a couple pretty big dings on there, so I'm going to be getting some reel covers here pretty soon. But as far as initial quality, it does everything it's supposed to do. I don't know how many pounds of drag this reel produces, but when I wrench this thing down, when I take this star drag, it's a non-clicking star drag, so you won't hear it, but when I take that drag clutch and I really wrench that thing down, I can actually put my thumb on the spool, whether it's spooled or not, and I can turn this reel handle and I don't feel it slipping. I feel the reel moving underneath my thumb. So I can't get that, no matter how hard I push down my thumb, I cannot get that spool to stop. So I think the drag is more than adequate. I've caught some pretty big catfish on this setup, and I've gotten into some pretty big snags. With 65-pound Power Pro, I have to go grab a stick and pull on it. Well, I don't have to go get a stick and pull on it, because the reel, actually the drag clutches, will actually hold 65-pound Power Pro while I'm pulling on it to snap that line if I have to. So the bail release, or the spool release, is right up here on top. It's not in the center like you see on the Cat Max reels, so it's pretty bare bones. The line guide that's in here, the level wind system, this is made of plastic. On your higher end Abu Garcias, you'll see that it's basically two metal wires that run for the level wind. Underneath you got the worm gear. The worm gear looks like stainless. There's no brass underneath there, so looks like the worm gear that runs the level wind back and forth is stainless and not brass. There's another guide up top, right there. This is your worm gear guide, and then you've got another guide on top that helps strengthen that level wind. So it is plastic. I haven't had a problem with it at all. So $55 plus $30, you've got an $85 setup in one whole rod and reel system. So you'd spend that much just on a reel alone on some of these catfish rigs that people have. You could spend that on just a rod alone on some of the catfish rigs that some people have. So all in all, I think this system is great. It's worked really well for me. It's a 5-to-1 or 5.1 to 1 gear ratio, which means this spool runs 5.1 times. It winds 5.1 times around each time the reel handle makes one full revolution. So that was 5.1 revolutions of the spool when I run this reel handle once. So you don't really need a huge gear ratio for catfish. It's nice when you can take in 25 inches of line for every one reel of the reel, but all in all, you don't need a huge gear ratio for catfish. It casts really smooth. It doesn't have a magnetic clutch braking system like you see on some of the low pro bait casters, and things like the Cat Max and things for Bass Pro and things like that. So what you'll see is a spool tensioner, and the way you adjust the amount of tension that you're going to have as far as braking system on this reel is you turn it clockwise, and that tightens the amount of tension on this reel, so you don't end up getting a bird's nest when you end up throwing that bait out there. So like I said, all in all, really good reel. I like the fact that it has a bait clicker, something that we didn't cover earlier is that you have a little bait clicker right here. So what I can do is, with having 3 kids, gonna have the 4th here pretty soon, that sometimes I can't always watch my rods. So I'll take them, I'll throw them out there, and I'll set them in the rod holder, and I'll set my bait clicker once I put the spool into free spool. What that'll do is that'll allow that catfish to pick it up, and when he picks it up, he takes and runs with it, and as he's running with it, I can hear this clicker clicking. So I know I have a bite. I can go over, I can shut the bail or shut the spool off and hook him. So what we tend to do is we use circle hooks, and what we do with circle hooks is we don't sit there and have a really animated hook set like you see some of these bass fishermen do. You want to let the catfish, grab that bait, and the rod basically sets the hook for you. You let him run with that bait, you let him take it a little bit, you shut your bail, and you watch the rod start getting a bow in it. And that's basically that fish is hooking himself. If you want to, you can do a nice low and slow sweeping hook set to load that rod up. Not fast, just about that speed right there. Nice low and slow. And what it'll do is that circle hook will work its way into the corner of that fish's mouth and hook him. So later on, what we're going to do is we're going to be out there catfishing, and we're gonna kind of show you a little bit more of what of the techniques, some of the rigs that we're gonna use. We're actually gonna go and showcase some of the places that we go to buy this gear that we have. Not just Walmart, not just Gander Mountain, not just Shields, Cabela's, Bass Pro, places like that. But we're gonna go to some of the small mom and pop bait shops around here. Some of the small outfitters. We're going to go to gun shops. Some of these places are bait shops and gun shops, archery shops, all combined into one. So you're going to get the full gambit of outdoor gear exposure in just one place. So what we want to do is we want to kind of promote a lot of the smaller shops, because those are the places. For one, you can find some smoking deals in some of these shops. Not only that, you're going to find more knowledgeable people, not just somebody that got put there and gets paid, goes there to get paid and then goes home. No, these are people that are passionate about what they're doing. So we want to showcase that. We want to showcase those people, and we want to showcase the fact that it's a small business here in Iowa, in our area, that people can go to better spend their money. I think you want to promote small businesses because that's not just somebody making a paycheck. That's a dad putting his daughter through dance class and his son through football and things like that. So we want to make sure that we promote that kind of stuff more than the big box stores. So we'll end the video here, and we'll get back to you guys here in the next week. We'll talk more about getting geared up for the upcoming season. We're in coyote season right now, but we're not really going to do a whole lot of coyote hunting, just because I have to stick around the house because my wife is about 8 months pregnant, and we're getting down there to the wire. Not only that, but we're just going to be doing a little bit of nesting and making sure that Mason is going to have a good reception home. So we'll talk to you guys soon, and we'll see you out in the field.